Hello and welcome to the biztrepreneurpodcast. I'm Kevin Ross and I'll be diving deep into conversation with entrepreneurs, hearing their stories, the highs, lows, tips, tricks and tactics, and most importantly to see where we can learn and hopefully be inspired. On today's episode, I'm chatting with Sarah Lynch of Ebb and Flow and Swim Buddies. Sarah tells us how she moved from Kerry to Galway, creating this swimming lessons empire and teaching hundreds of kids. And also how maybe down the line we might see swim buddies nationwide. Be sure to give us a tag on Instagram, Ebb and Flow, Biztrepreneur Podcast, and I hope you enjoy.
Oh, it was crazy. I don't know what I was thinking. And that's it, being okay with asking for help and realising you don't have to know it all and there are people that can assist you and guide you. I suppose between children and adults in the pool and sea, we were seeing maybe 400 people a week. COVID.
Oh, stop it.
Definitely in the big picture of our journey, that whole time was a big
Sarah Lynch of Swim Buddies and Ebb and Flow Swimming, you are very welcome to the Biztrepreneur Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Kevin. It's an honour.
I'm delighted to have another local belly duff entrepreneur on the podcast with me.
We're producing good entrepreneurs in Ballyduff.
Woohoo! Go on. And look, I suppose before we get into anything, Sarah, just give our listeners a quick intro as to who you are and what you do.
Okay, so my name is Sarah Lynch and I am the founder of Swim Buddies. It's a children's learn to swim program, and I'm the co-founder of Ebb and Flow Aquatics, and that is an adults learn to swim program. And we specialise in open water swimming, so outdoor swimming. We're based in Galway. I've been in business just over 10 years.
I know Sarah locally, and also we used to go to the local swimming pool, Ballyloughren.
Oh,
and how many years ago is that?
Must be nearly 20 years ago, Kevin.
Wow, I suppose it is.
Well, maybe 15
to 20 years ago. Yeah. Ballyloughren is now closed down, but that's where Sarah used to be teaching all of us and, must be going to the pool. I mean, it's mad,
I had forgotten that.
Yeah, that's madness,
Yourself and your cousins, yeah.
So, I mean, going from there, right, to moving up to Galway and to going from having waiting lists and being booked out for the swim buddies for kids all over Galway. I mean, wow. So, look, just bring it right back to the start. Where did Swim Buddies begin?
So I have a background in sports and exercise science. I studied in Tralee in the Institute of Technology. I kind of specialised in aquatic therapy and adapted physical activity. They would have been I would have been drawn to that. I did the aquatic stream, and then for my thesis I did the psychological well-being of adults with physical disabilities. So people and water have always been two things that have been really important to me.
Oh, okay.
Previous to college, when I just did my level 1 swim coaching, I started in Ballyloughren, did some lessons there, the outdoor activity side of it. But then in college, I did my work placement in Enable Ireland. So again, I was working with kids with physical disabilities, and I would have worked with the physiotherapist in the hydrotherapy program. So right. I did that for a few years. I got a part-time job in college working in family support. And I worked part-time in Ballyloughren as well, still doing swimming lessons. And then the embargo hit back in 2009. So the HSE kind of were cutting a lot of the jobs. So I was back down to 4 or 5 hours a week. And I just wanted a change. So I took off on some travels, myself and Miss Bunyan.
Yeah.
We decided to go off on a year just to do a bit of exploring. We started off in San Francisco. Spent a couple of months there. That was for Sinead because she was big into football at the time. And then we moved on to New Zealand.
Yeah. And
I stepped foot in New Zealand and I was like, why haven't I been here for years? I just felt so at home there.
Loved it.
Instantly loved it. And it was just, I had been on many holidays before, but it was the first time being so far away from home and really just exploring a different lifestyle and a different way of living. So I stayed in New Zealand. Sinead went on to Australia. I spent about 10 months there and again loved every minute of it. But my sister was diagnosed with cancer while I was there, and my father was kind of going through tests for Alzheimer's. So these life events kind of push you to...
Yeah, they push you to, I suppose, reflect on your own life or reflect on yourself. I suppose in those situations, all you could do is just take it as it comes.
So I was like, I need to get home. Mm-hmm. So we came home through Thailand. We had a great time on the way home. But I was like, what am I going to do? I didn't want to go back to, and actually Ballyloughrine had closed down in that time. So I didn't want to go back home.
And you're leaving this special place where you're actually loving New Zealand, and you have to come home.
Yeah, and it made me. I found a part of myself. If that might sound a bit mad, but you just discover parts of yourself, and I felt like I'd really grown up in a way.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was in an internet cafe in Thailand, and I was texting or emailing my sister Katrina, going, "What am I going to do with my life?" So she had just started working in a brand new facility called Ocean Fitness, which was a gym attached to a hotel, but it was special in the fact that it had a 25-metre pool, and it also had a hydrotherapy pool, which is a warmer pool. Okay. So she was like, why don't I ask and see if they have any part-time work? So emailed me back a couple of days later, said, yeah, look, there's some swim teaching work here if you want to do that. She said, it's only random, but look, it's a start.
You'll take what you get at that stage when you're coming home.
Yeah, completely. So I got home on a Wednesday, and that Sunday I drove up to Galway. I left at 6 o'clock in the morning. I taught for a few hours, came back down. I did that for a few weeks where I was travelling up and down. Whenever they needed me, I was just like...
Up and down to Kerry?
Up and down from Kerry to Galway, yeah.
Wow, okay.
It might only have been an hour's work, but I just did it. And sometimes I'd stay with my sisters or whatever, but... Yeah. So that's how it started. And then some parents asked me to take their kids on privately, and kind of set up an agreement with the manager at the time. They had offered me a job, a lifeguarding job, because I still had that qualification. I was just like, I don't want to go back to sitting in a chair looking at people.
You want something a bit more exciting, yeah.
A bit more exciting. So it just snowballed, and people were coming from all directions, adults, parents, grandparents, children.
I love it.
I just kept doing it because I loved it. I really did.
It took off from the hotel swimming pool.
Yeah. Now it's a private members club as well. So it's a Salt Hill based side of town. So you have a good catchment area.
Okay.
But yeah, it just took off. So I was operating under my own name. I had Sarah Lynch Swimming. Then I branded myself. I was, 6-7 days a week. Could be in there at 6 o'clock in the morning. I could be there at 8-9 o'clock at night.
Wow.
My day was so long. Yeah. It wasn't straight through, but it started to become that, because you have calls in between, you have,
planning, membership, organising appointments, everything like that. And look, this is getting exciting already now. And before we move that, where did the whole love of, I suppose, sea and water come from?
Yeah, we grew up next to the water. My mom's from the Aran Islands. I think we spent a lot of summers out there. So it's kind of just in our blood. Yeah. It runs through us. To be completely honest, I think growing up by the sea definitely has an impact on our love of water, but also I think we ate too many sandwiches at the beach, and I just I had a real dislike of sand for so many years. I was like, oh God. So I love the sea, but not the beach. Yeah.
If you could go straight from the car park into the water, that's hunky.
Water, yeah. So I love it here in Salt Hill because you don't have to go to the beach.
You can jump off the pier straight down into it.
Exactly, into the tower.
Very good.
So, people in water. Like, I've always loved to swim. I never swam competitively. It was never it was just a love. I just loved to do it. And then I suppose working with Enable Ireland, I saw the benefit water had on people.
And then, okay, so you started getting loads of bookings. The phone was hopping. You went from taking your couple of bookings to having a waiting list. How did you even get to that stage?
It was completely word of mouth. It was completely organic. I've never advertised. To this day, we haven't advertised.
Stop it.
Yeah, we've never had a marketing campaign or now that's obviously all changing, but no, never had to formally advertise. And I had been contacted by local papers and stuff if I wanted to put adverts in, but there was no real point because we had no space for people.
Yeah.
So if you wrote back, I got really busy, the phones were hopping, emails were going. So what I did is, with the manager of the hotel at the time, I said, look, can I bring in another person to take some of this overflow? And he was like, absolutely. He said, I only want to deal with one person. I don't want to have to deal with... He wanted to deal with one personal trainer, one swim instructor, one, class instructor.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be dealing. So he was like, look, if you can find someone and they can take some of your swimmers on for you, then I'm happy, but I still just want to deal with you.
Gotcha.
So I did that, got a guy in, and then another girl, and then, it just kept growing.
And what was this time period from when this started to when you took on your first employee then?
So I started there in 2010, and I think maybe 2011 or 12. I think I had 2 and then 3. And then in 2014, I was like, okay, I was all over the place. I did 5-week terms, but like everybody was on different 5-week terms. So there was no structure, there was no system, and everything was in my head, like everything. And a black notebook.
And I suppose at the start of the business, you know, the ideal situation is that every single person starts on the same date for this term. But then when you saw a business coming, you just take it when the business starts, and then they start to 5 terms. So it could be 1 this week and 1 the next week, 1 the next week.
Yeah.
So the organisation and logistics of all that must have been bonkers.
Oh, it was crazy. Like, I don't know what I was thinking, because I never envisaged it. I never, planned any of it. It just kept happening. And when that's happening, you just go with it. But yeah, my mind, like I'd be lying in bed at night and be like, oh shit, I forgot to ring that person and they need to go in at the 3 o'clock slot, and like that kind of stuff. So I stopped and I was like, I need help here. So I went to the local enterprise office.
Love it.
And I got a mentor, a really, really good mentor, and he was like, okay, you just need to actually stop everything for just a week or 2. He's like, you need to find structure here, because I suppose he saw the potential where I didn't see it. Mm-hmm. I just saw people and places, and that's when I branded and rebranded to Swim Buddies. So I went from Sarah Lynch Swimming to Swim Buddies, and we put set terms on things, set prices. Then, I went from 1-to-1 to 2-to-1 to 3-to-1. So I was able to take 3 in a group, which was obviously more beneficial and probably better for the customer as well, because it wasn't as pricey as a 1-to-1.
And it was more time effective for you then as well.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah. Likewise with the instructors. So they were getting paid and they were paying me a commission, and then I was paying the club a commission. So he was like, you need to just have one stream. Yeah. You pay them. All of those things, which I never really took time to think about, and just sitting down with an expert was like really, really effective and helpful in the operation of the business.
And the local enterprise office, I've mentioned it on most episodes now so far, it's just full of knowledge, and these mentors are free. Like you email and they're saying, yeah, no problem, we'll set you up one for tomorrow or next week or whatever, and they're just brilliant. And they go through the things, as you said, that you wouldn't know about, and how are you supposed to know? Like, it's not your business to know about all those different things, and the logistics and the accounting and the finance and the managing of people and all that. I had Caroline McHenry on last week, and she said a big part of business is people. And I mean, really how it works is when you don't know, you have to go seek help.
Exactly.
And delegate.
Yeah. And that's it, being okay with asking for help and realizing you don't have to know it all, and there are people that can assist you and guide you.
Yeah.
And it's far more time effective than trying to figure things out yourself at times. They're there to support small businesses, and they really do.
And ebb and flow then? So
that was 2014 when I rebranded, and Katrina was still working in the club at the time, and she was a supervisor. Through the club, they trained her up to be a swim instructor as well. So then the next year, I had been coaching a group of, so I did a lot of adults teaching as well, and I worked for the club in doing a group like swim fit session, where a group of adults, had a weekly coaching session, so their fitness was up. And Katrina has really been the sea person, the sea swimmer. Okay. She has always probably been, most happiest in the sea. So we were kind of plotting and planning in the background, and we were like, she said, what do you think about bringing a few of those swimmers if they'd like to chance a dip in the sea?
Coming out to the water, yeah.
So she came, it was the end of term, it was June. She challenged them, and there was about 7 of them that said yeah. So we had a weekly session. Like, it was a group swim. It was all about the coffee and cake afterwards. It was just, but it's a whole different energy you get from the sea. It's a whole different experience. It's a whole different type of swimming you need.
Well, when the cold hits you, I'm sure it's a different feeling then when it wakes you up, like,
Oh, very different. So yeah, then that just grew. Yeah, legs.
I'm looking at you here now smiling, and I'm just waiting to see what you're going to say next, because like it really did. I've been following it online, and I've been talking to mutual friends, and it went off on its own.
Yeah.
Like, it just took off.
Yeah. So was
this down the promenade?
Yeah, so based here in Salt Hill, mainly from Blackrock, the diving tower, or one of the beaches down across from where the hotels are.
Okay.
So yeah, it's grown year on year. We obviously took a break we couldn't run it last season, but we're hoping to get back up and running. We had a virtual evening last night just for a certain section of swimmers, and there was over 130 people signed up to just one, and we have another one tomorrow night, and there's over 80 people signed up.
Wow, Sarah. Wow.
To it. Yeah.
And from those 7 people, how long did it take to grow? What numbers did you get? Like, you know, was it like kind of that everyone just meets at a certain time, or how did it work?
So it was fairly free flowing. The first year it was kind of like those 7, and then people got wind of it, and then I think there was probably nearly 20 by the end of that season. And then that was the focus then for a lot of adults throughout the winter, is to train and prepare and be ready for the open water. So the next year, lots. So we were still running our pool program. We had our swim buddies going, and that was growing. So we've built up to like 12, 13 instructors.
Wow. Okay.
Just over 2 locations. Salthill is our main one, and we're at the other side of town in another hotel pool as well. I suppose between children and adults in the pool and sea, we were seeing maybe 400 people a week.
That is savage.
So it's a lot of people. Yeah.
So are you actually on hand now? Are you actually going into the pool, you know, managing this whole empire of swimming up in Galway, or was it all the office work, the logistics of it?
Yeah, so I had to kind of split my time more. I wasn't able to be on deck all the time and try and run it as well. So then Katrina actually came on board, and she finished work in the hotel, and we now work together.
That's so
running
cool.
the business. So in 2015, when things kind of got busier, she came on board, did a lot of the background work and planning for the adult side of things.
Okay.
And then we took on an administrative person, you know, opened an office space. But the office side of things, I did have to do them, and obviously you're people managing, you're managing timetables, and I could do it, but it wasn't where my passion lay. And the more I got pulled from the pool, the more I missed what I did.
So Sarah, where did Ebb and Flow go from there? You had the people, you had the crowds. How did you grow it?
So myself and Katrina would have done swim holidays with a company called Swim Trek, where you go and you get coached and you're brought on these beautiful idyllic places.
Lovely.
And then a couple of years, some of the people that were swimming in the sea with us came on these holidays. We organised for them to go, and we went with them, but it was more of a social thing.
Gotcha.
So then back in 2019, we actually ran our own overseas trip in Mallorca.
Oh, wow.
Where we brought a group of 16 swimmers. It was a combination of pool and open water. So there was a 50-metre outdoor pool, and I didn't get to go, unfortunately.
You didn't go in the end?
No, I didn't. No, I had a second baby, and she messed up my plans.
You saw lovely pictures anyway of it, and you were...
I did, yeah. I heard all about it.
Yeah.
And we were it was really successful. You know, people loved it. It was a nice blend of a bit of training, but a bit of crack and a bit of fun and excitement. And we had planned another one last year, which I was supposed to go on. We had doubled the numbers. We had 2 separate groups, 2 trips. So I think there was nearly 30 people booked in. All booked, paid, you know, deposits paid. We had a waiting list, and then it was all...
COVID hit. There we go.
COVID.
Oh, stop it. And Sarah, how did you even adapt to COVID?
So we were in the middle of a term. We just went, okay, this is kind of well outside of our control. What are we doing? Facilities were closed. I suppose one of our biggest we're at the mercy of facilities anyway, because we rent premises. So,
and you're in hotels, and if the hotels
and we're in hotels, and if the hotels are closed, they're closed. And because we are external to the hotels, when they reopened, we weren't a priority. So, like, we're doubly vulnerable in a way.
Gotcha.
But the ocean is there. We actually just went, okay, this is an opportunity to finally pause, slow down again. We can't control what's going on. I made the decision to kind of, as the weeks went on, I got a sense that this wasn't going to be a quick turnaround. And we decided to refund everybody for where they had paid up to, you know, for the lessons. Yes. Because it was just clearer for us when we didn't know what our situation was going to be. So we cleared the books, cleared everybody, made sure, that was as best as we could do for our clients.
And all the 30 people that were going on the ebb and flow holiday abroad, just, befriended all them. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And we were in a very lucky position to be able to do that. I mean, that was one blessing, that we were in a good place as a business.
Yeah, I heard from Jenny Red Balloon. I had her on episode 3. She had gotten everything ordered in, and there was deposits paid for balloons, across the country and all over Cork. And when COVID hit, it nearly broke her. It nearly closed her down. So she had to refund everything. People screaming over the phone looking for refunds. I mean,
it's so tough.
It's so tough on a lot of people, and thank God, and you're blessed that you were actually able to do it. To be able to move on from that and say, okay, right, we've done that now. That's over and done with. Let's move on. Try to adapt with COVID. Yeah.
So what I did then is, when we didn't know, I reassessed and go, what do I want to do with the business? What do I want to do with my life? I have a 2-year-old, so your life changes when you have children, and where I wanted to put my energy or my time into going forward, how much time do I have? Swim Buddies is like my first child, really. It's like my real baby, and it's kind of grown, and in a way I feel like it's a teenager now, and I kind of need to let it go a little bit.
It has kind of made itself, and it's kind of running itself. Yeah, that's good.
So what I did was I sat down and I was like, what have I learned from running Swim Buddies, the children's program especially? What is it that's made it so successful? So I kind of poured my heart out into a manual of everything that I've learned over the years, and trying to package Swim Buddies as like a franchise type.
Gotcha.
Looking at the franchise model and is this something that can be implemented into other hotel pools where a facility may take it on? And I had looked in, we got a really good kind of software package to match. The service we provided was really good. One of the things we always were weaker on was our booking systems, and kind of parents these days love to know what their child is doing and how their child is progressing. And we came across a really good software system that just matches what we do in Swim Buddies. So I had put a lot of work into that. It's not in Ireland at the moment, so it's a booking system, but it has a parent portal as well, and it has an instructor portal. So the instructor can be at the side of the pool with their iPad. Everything is preset. So I redeveloped our scheme, our children's learn scheme. So everything is inputted into this system. So they have a tick list. If Johnny put his face in the water today, they can click it.
Gotcha.
Parent gets notification of that. They say, oh, well done. You did this today. So there's real transparency between the booking side of it, so the administration side, what the instructors are doing.
Even when the parent gets that notification on their phone, that's like, oh yes, that's exciting, and then they'll tell their other parent friend, and it'll just, and that's, I suppose, that is a massive thing where you can see how it'll be word of mouth after that, because that's an advertising scheme right there for you when that notification goes to the phone. Wow. Yeah. Okay, Sarah, you're on a roll, girl. You're on a roll.
I don't know. The industry is in a very rocky place.
Yeah.
They were trying to get their heads around actually opening safely and how they would manage people. So we were set to go back and run our own lessons in September, but then it wasn't really working out in terms of the amount of work we would put in.
It wasn't sustainable.
It wasn't sustainable at that stage. And I had a feeling I just had this gut feeling that things were going to change again.
Okay.
So we were just about to take bookings. We were just about to start up in what way we could. And then I said, let's hold off a week or two. And then
another lockdown. Wow.
We had another hit. And we did decide as well last summer we probably could have run our ebb and flow sessions. But myself and Katrina, she also has a little baby. She's 2 now. So we wanted to look at both businesses, and it's something, they've both been quite intertwined over the years, but they're 2 very separate businesses and brands now. There was just too much uncertainty. The time and space, we didn't plan it, but we were trying to use it to our advantage going forward as the businesses and where we see them. So we've rebranded Ebb and Flow Swimming. So it was Ebb and Flow Swimming. We've rebranded it to Ebb and Flow Aquatics because it's become a lot more than swimming to us. Swimming is obviously the main element of it, but especially the outdoor side of it, you see the mental and emotional benefits it has on people and the impact of being in nature. And I think we have seen in COVID, like sea swimming has just gone, like exploded. I live here just very close to the diving tower in Blackrock, and from 6 o'clock in the morning, there's a constant stream of people just coming. It's amazing, and it's you know, it's fantastic to see.
Like, what else are you supposed to do? So, like, I mean, if it,
I know,
if it's there and you're outside and, you know, and you're not going to be, you know, coming in contact with people directly, you know, so why not?
Yeah, and we've seen the impact it's had on people's lives, like I've said, you know, the friendships, the community that's built, the connections people have, and when you like physically have to strip down, and it doesn't matter who you are or what you do, or people don't even know second names, you know, it kind of takes away a lot of the rubbish that we hold on to in our lives.
A small little bit of a community that they just
Exactly.
enjoy, and even when they go on the holidays, you know, it's people that have all something in common and they all have the same interest. So
exactly,
that's it, you know, it's just easy going, it flows nice.
Yeah. So we're really, really hoping, and I'm sure it will, that we can get back. We have a plan in place to start in May, depending on restrictions, and that's all we can do at the moment is plan for the outdoors. There is just too much uncertainty with pools at the moment. It's a better feeling to hold off and do what we can do now.
So Sarah, look, on every episode I always say to people, right, you know, there is the lows and the highs of the business. Let's just go to where something didn't go right, you know, the blood pressure went up a little bit. What was that time and how did you deal with it?
I suppose, speaking of blood pressure, when you said that, before I had my little girl, the pregnancy was quite difficult, and then I developed preeclampsia, which is high blood pressure. So I was brought into hospital early. I was supposed to have this lovely handover done. I was supposed to have, you know, everything kind of prepped and prepared, and I thought I was going into hospital for a night, and it ended up, I came home 7 weeks later.
All right, grand, yeah.
6 weeks.
Okay, so nothing handed over.
So I remember being in the hospital with my laptop, trying to do a handover to Katrina, and I was like, oh no, you know, I was like, shit, what's happening? It's gonna, you know, I suppose it wasn't a low, but it was a panicked time.
Yeah, like a stressful time.
Yeah. Along with that, my little girl, she spent a lot of time in hospital after as well, so that completely took me away from the business, which I just didn't have the headspace to try and think of it. So you do worry then, God, how is everything? Is it okay? Mm-hmm. But you just have to trust. Yes, that was a big...
That's definitely, yeah. As in, you say it was a panic time, but that was a low, like, you know, I mean, that's you trying not being in full control and worrying about it, you know, and like not being saying like, where's my baby? And swim buddies is your baby as well, you know. Your baby. So you're worried about two babies, you know.
And then poor Katrina, she was worrying about me, she was worrying about my baby, she was worrying about the business, and she had her own baby. So like definitely in the big picture of our journey, that whole time was a big
yeah.
And when you don't have a system set up that someone else can come in, and that's one thing we've really learned, is that anybody should be able to run it. If something is being run effectively and efficiently, then it should be easier for someone else to come in and kind of take over, which it wasn't at the time because there was still so much in my head.
But look, you learn a lot from that anyway.
You learn, you live and learn.
Counteracting that with a total high of the business so far, you know, what's been the moment where you've said, yes, this is amazing, wow, it's going somewhere, or it's just kind of like a peak, you know, like, what was that moment?
There's just something coming to my head, and it wasn't a really big high, but I think it was just after the time I rebranded to Swim Buddies. So there was the new branding, there was the new logo, all the instructors had their white t-shirts on, all the children had their yellow hats on. I wasn't teaching, I was on deck, kind of like supervising, and I could see there was, you know, 4 instructors there working, and it just looked really lovely and professional. It was like, oh, this makes
so cool,
you know. Yeah, so that was kind of it was one of the first times I stood back and went, oh, there's something happening here, this looks good, it looked really professional.
That's such a nice image. Like, I'm visually kind of picturing it in my head, seeing all the little yellow bubbles around the water, you know, and
everybody looked so happy. You know, the instructors were really engaged with their swimmers. The swimmers were happy. It was just one of those moments where it was like, oh, that's nice.
So Sarah, you've built your team up. You're clearly on a road to success. There is so many staff underneath you now that are working and everyone's working as a team. How do you find that?
Yeah, I think growing the team and having the right people around you, something I'm really proud of the people that have come with us, and proud of them for the journey they've been on. Obviously pre-COVID we had 12, 13 instructors, but our open water side of things, we have 2 main ladies that are really valuable to us and that have kind of been on a real journey. One in particular, Aisling, she started off as a student, took some swimming lessons, then came on one of the little swim holidays with us. The first one we ran, there was only 4 swimmers and myself and Katrina. Then after that, she decided she was going to do her swim teaching, and now she is pretty much one of our lead open water coaches. And just to see her journey and to see how she's developed, and even now I'm learning from her.
She's progressed so much.
I mean, that's just one. I definitely think it's the people you have around you can lift you and help build a business, because you can't do anything on your own. And having like-minded people that share your values and share your vision has been really important for us.
And so now that you come under the title as an entrepreneur, you know, you mentioned something that hit me hard when you first responded to the text. You said, I don't feel like an entrepreneur now, you know, because of when COVID hit, that the business is now closed. That took me back so much. And I said, you know, there's probably so many other business people around Ireland and around the world that are in the exact same position. And it's hard to say that, but that's the way it is.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever felt like an entrepreneur, to be honest. And now especially...
Don't say that, you're flying.
I'm just a swim teacher. Yeah, it's a funny place to be, because the whole 10 years previous, your whole life is consumed with the business. And it took a long time to come down from that, to switch your head off, to go, okay, these things are not happening. They're outside of our control again. What can we do? And yeah, I suppose we definitely took the opportunity to pause. We had been blue arse flies for all those years. And it comes back to, what values do I hold as a person in my own personal life, in my family life, and the values for the business, and are they matching or blending, and where do we want to be in the future? Because I've never actually planned. I've just kind of gone with the flow.
Yeah, well, my next question is, where's the Swim Buddies and Ebb and Flow going? What's the goal in the future? Where do you see it happening? I know you mentioned franchise.
I don't know. Yeah, so I suppose I really believe in the philosophies that we teach in and the ethos we have for both Ebb and Flow and Swim Buddies. And I'd love to see that being spread across the country. So it's having the right support and the people. I don't know if I have the full capacity to be able to do that. I've poured my heart and everything I've known and learned into a manual and a training program. So it's developing that. We don't know what's going to happen with the pools even in the next few months. I don't know if we can get back to how we were, but maybe this is something that facilities can take on themselves. So that's kind of the vision for Swim Buddies. And then Ebb and Flow is, get back to the sea, get back up and running, get back in front of people, get that vibe and that energy going again, and to see where that takes us. It's very seasonal, the open water side of things, but we have kind of hidden plans and visions for that, and to see where it takes us.
Beautiful.
So stay tuned.
Stay tuned to their social media. And look, Sarah, I suppose for someone starting out in business, have you got any advice? Or someone that's already in business, you know, if they're sitting an idea, what do you say to that person?
Follow your heart. Trust yourself. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And make sure you have the right people around you that will support you. And don't be afraid to fail.
I'm glad you said that one.
Yeah.
You know, that's how you learn. That's how you learn. And you know, you've already said, you know, when you don't know something, just seek help. And a free way of going about that is just going to the local enterprise office. And you've done that. I've done that. It's just a way.
For sure. I've done it many times. And they're the first port of call. And for any little thing or large thing.
And you know, some people might have this thing where, if I'm seeking help, I'm weak, or that I'm not doing it right. That's not it. You know, that's not how it works.
Absolutely not.
Like, that's not how it works, you know.
No. We don't all know it all. And normally when you're in business, you are really good at what you do. Doesn't necessarily mean you're good at running a business, because they're two different things.
I ask this question in every podcast. Tell me something interesting about yourself that nobody knows.
Oh God.
Yeah. I catch everyone out on this one.
Oh, like some people know this, but I had this irrational fear of sunflowers.
Sunflowers.
Yeah, they used to make me go like feel physically sick from a very young age. From like a child, my sister, when she first moved to Galway, one of my older sisters, in her kitchen there was borders of sunflowers. And there was sunflower tiles on the wall, and I actually couldn't go into the kitchen.
You were totally disgusted.
So bizarre. You don't actually have to put that in.
You know what? It's so random. I'm telling you, it's crazy. Like.
So I don't know where that comes from, what it means, but there you go.
So look, Sarah, thank you very much for being a part of the Biztrepreneur podcast. I'm really happy that you said you'd be a guest.
Thank you so much,
you
Kevin.
had a great story to tell.
Thank you so much for having me. I loved that. Great to chat.
Thank you for tuning into the 7th episode of the Biztrepreneur podcast. The podcast is just over a month old, and I thought maybe this might be a thing where I try it out, see where I'm going with it. But yeah, no, I definitely know I'm continuing with this. I'm loving it. It's hitting the business and entrepreneurship charts on the Apple Podcast app. Set your alarms for next Thursday, where we'll have Kevin Owens of sneakercleaner.ie. Kevin started his business in school, and yeah, you kind of get the drift. It's in the name. Look, if you have any suggestions about who you would like to see in the podcast, DM me, Biztrepreneur Podcast. Plus, we're on Instagram. Check it out, Biztrepreneur Podcast. Give us a follow. And also, I'd really appreciate if you like, subscribe, rate, review, screenshot, put it on your story, whatever it is, all that good stuff. And I look forward to being back on here next week. Over and out.